This is a critical review of a piece of art, emphasizing its strongest artistic accomplishments more than the quality as a product. A separate review of quality may be created in another video. As with all artistic review, this video is entirely opinion. The subject matter in this game is intended for mature audiences only. As such, by reviewing its content, the review itself will certainly contain the same content. The review will touch upon various story cutscenes and events within Killer7. Those who have completed Killer7 will benefit most from this review. Although this is not a total chronology of the game's events, those who oppose spoilers of any kind to the game must not watch this video.
Yes.
I must confess, it may be a bit of a mistake to begin this series on a game such as Killer7. Not that it doesn't deserve to be given high regard or critical review, but in that it's difficult to pin down for a closer look. In a box cover description, it's an on-rail shooter that achieves a type of survival horror. Yet, that's not nearly enough of a description for the game. It creates a realistic political struggle between two nations, while also exploring extremely surreal phenomena. And that doesn't include scenes like the Mahjong table or the Russian roulette game, whose dialogue and interactions are written with language that could fill entirely separate videos, be they mine or someone else's. Perhaps having my first extensive critique on a game as loaded as Killer7 is something of a mistake, but I'll do my best. With that in mind...
Samantha, the lights.
As you wish, Master.
For proper context, I must explain some of the plot of Killer7 within this video. However, I won't touch upon the entire plot of the game, especially later events, as it's better for viewers to experience it themselves. For those who want to go into this game completely fresh, this is your chance to avoid spoilers. For everyone else, don't worry, only the first chapter is covered at length. Moving along. In the world of Killer7, the 21st century is an age of international peace. All nuclear technology is banned. Silos of ICBMs are emptied into the Earth's atmosphere and are intercepted by other missiles, in events of denuclearization that become known as fireworks. To further the peace, all air travel and public internet are also banned, and large intercontinental highways bridge the oceans, allowing for travel between nations. However, one threat remains. Heaven Smiles, a group of dangerous terrorist monsters. Taking on the guise of humans, they explode instantly in a suicide blast. They send the once peaceful world into a tailspin. The only covert way of ending their tyranny is through the methods of an assassin. Enter Garcian Smith, one such assassin with an objective. Destroy the Heaven Smile headquarters, and capture their leader alive. Upon entering the building, he glances into a security camera and Garcian somehow becomes someone else. And we encounter both a Heaven Smile and Dan Smith. The strangeness builds as we travel through the area. Heaven Smiles bring havoc upon the building's occupants, and Dan becomes 6 other Smiths to meet the challenges of the infrastructure. We move not freely but on rails, stopping only to open doors or to scan and fire at our enemies. Constantly we are stalked by strange ghosts. One clad in bondage leather, another in an ever-changing tank top, one more in a bolo tie with a blood-hungry mask, and occasionally a small child. The Smiths are helped along further by a maid who saves the game, a television with a doctor that converts blood into mysterious serum, and even a severed head. Asking why any of this happens quickly becomes a wasted venture. One can't keep up with the strange flow of weird happenings as the many Smiths climb further to their target. The madness escalates as we're introduced to a wheelchair-bound man with a high-powered rifle on his shoulder. Eventually, you find your target. One who appears oddly acquainted with the man. And then, something really weird happens when the old one takes the shot. One thing's for sure.
You're awake from your dream. To finish this game peacefully is my last wish.
This is only the beginning of a genius tale where absolutely nothing is as it seems. No doubt, the greatest accomplishment of Killer7 is its narrative. The story within Killer7 by all accounts should not work as well as it does in conveying its themes, with the onslaught of events both outlandish and realistic. But before I can begin to explain how Killer7 pulls it off, I have to explain what it pushes away from. Most stories attempt to establish a concrete world to set events in, obviously. From there, the best writers know that good, interesting drama is not built on plot, but characters involved. These characters then respond to a problem presented to them, and they either solve that problem or fail to solve that problem, and along the way encounter other obstacles toward that end. What makes Killer7 interesting is that it simultaneously uses these basic ideas while also rejecting them. As the story continues, a political commentary develops, based on the United States and Japan as the two engage in a power struggle for world domination, fighting against one another and the Heaven Smiles. The Smiths are their interesting wet workers, and their targets equally as fascinating. The chapter's Cloudmen and encounters stick out to me especially. As the conflict escalates, you'll find that the world peace was actually just a hollow promise. And yet this all takes place in the same game where, avoiding other major plot details, and a cult is founded in response to powerful beings who, quote,
guys who beat off 4 times a day.
Killer7 wants a concrete world where we're supposed to consider how the shady politics operate scarily similar to our own, while we control a luchador that can suplex burning shrapnel. The narrative mold breaking doesn't stop there. Many characters fulfill several roles as multiple characters. The first example revealed to the player is the Smith Syndicate, 7 beings in Harmon's one body. Sure, the names are just code names, but before they were personalities of Harmon, they were independent people themselves. The cases of Garcian and Dan Smith make that fact plain. But what are the other Smiths? Other than Garcian and Dan, we are only given piecemeal identity through the brief carrier pigeon writings, Iwazaru's advice, and the non-diegetic art book for the game. More on that in a bit. Another example is Harmon Smith himself. I can't give too much away for plot reasons, but Harmon Smith is definitely more than what he seems. At once in this current age of history, but also seemingly beyond it. Finally, characters who die in this game somehow don't stay dead. It's as if the characters of Killer7 are just means to further the plot, at once essential and disposable, breaking the second narrative construction model outlined earlier in this review. If one wishes to seek answers elsewhere in the companion art book Hand in Killer7, which was released just 2 months later to its corresponding game, you'll find yourself in the same situation. A maddening maze of seemingly contradictory things in typical narrative sidesteps. Garcian was supposedly born in Alabama. Then how does the book state he was born in Miami, Florida, near the Mexico border? Rather than filling in what the game fails to explain, the companion book seems to further twist and complicate things. Allow me to finish with this. If this review sounds as if I'm discrediting Goichi Suda and Grasshopper Manufacture as people who accidentally created a good game, then let me emphasize that nothing could be further from the truth. The models I've outlined for constructing narrative, albeit used universally, are by no means hard rules. They are mere suggestions, and any author may choose to break them as they wish. Killer7 does just that. It's a boundary breaker, not a slapdash product. In breaking down what came before, it breaks new ground that will never be broken again. This is made even more apparent by its development history. Announced as one of the GameCube exclusive Capcom Fantastic 5, it was a part of a bundle of games for that system that sought to bring interesting new twists to the industry itself. As such, the game was given a lot of time to develop, and more importantly, Suda51 was given full control of adding and removing content. Rather than building a story around the mechanics of the game, Grasshopper chose to write first and then build later, something most developers shy away from. and so it would develop for nearly 3 years, delayed 3 times over, with much of its content cut. As for the cut content, they consisted mostly of cutscenes, puzzles, and additional story, according to Suda himself, although Suda still considers the game complete. But not much is known as to why it was all cut. If I may make a guess, I might imagine it was due to the game already resting on 2 discs. Any more discs to ship out with a box would make the studio face already larger than normal production cost. But that's just an assumption. Speaking on the delays of the game, the reasons for the first 2 delays were never given. The third delay was a marketing ploy, to release the game on the coveted date of 7/7. But in the midst of all of this speculation, this is known for sure. A large publisher gave a small studio all the time in the world to put out a game designed to shake up its surroundings. A setup that bleeds of the unorthodox, going beyond what came before. It takes great creativity and even greater courage to run with the idea like Grasshopper did, with many delays over 3 years and most of the content cut to pieces on release. But in a world where much of our entertainment is a product of marketing and people group research, seeing examples of people going beyond it is something that should be admired. In short, Killer7 is an enigma, at once finished and complete while leaving so much unexplained. A war between the East and the West opens into battlefields that both boggle the mind in varying degrees of complexity and subject. By all logic, a story with so many broken rules and narrative structure sidesteps should not deliver on its theme so well, and yet Killer7 does. The story of Garcia and Smith can be experienced with a single playthrough. The explanations behind the chess game and other scenes like it will take years to figure out. Nothing has ever been, and will ever be like Killer7 again. All of its parts uniquely its own, upholding a story that's impossibly deep, simultaneously genius and mad in its complexity, by toying with the basics of story structure, the construction of beginning, middle, and end. Suda51 and Grasshopper Manufacture have brought their game into immortality. Killer7 has always stood by waiting for anyone willing to pick it up. And with this Steam re-release, it will keep standing as a fantastic triumph in the art of storytelling, all while the world around it keeps on turning.